everyone. Food, people. Let's talk about food. Today I have my special guest. She's a Hollywood hair designer of 50 years with 120 at least credits and a memoir is a new book called Continuity. No other than Maze Bonnie Clavering. Welcome, Miss Bonnie on Food 101. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Yes, thank you, Daniel, for having me. Um, I've done over 120 movies as a hair designer, and I did 10 movies with Julia Roberts. I go back to like Elvis Presley, Betty Davis, Barbara Streisand, and then through the years, I did the Twilight series with Kristen Stewart, and I did Snow White and the Huntsman with Kristen. I did Brad Pitt in Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I did some movies with Al Pacino, Jennifer Lopez, and Hugh Grant, and Anne Margaret, Sally Struthers. I did several with Tim Allen. So the list goes on and on.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Miss Bonnie, thank you. So
Thank
today,
you.
let's talk about the biscuits and gravy recipe that you include to your book, to your memoir. What it's all about.
Okay. Well, the first time I worked with Julia Roberts, it was Erin Brockovich. And just shortly after I met her, she said, we were talking food, and she said, I love sausage, biscuits, and gravy. And I said, well, I make a pretty good sausage, biscuits, and gravy. So later in the film, I went ahead and made it, and she thought it was delicious. And then we were in Las Vegas later doing Ocean's 11, and all the actors had these little villas that were under the Bellagio Hotel. And so whenever we travel, we always had the ingredients in her refrigerator for sausage, biscuits, and gravy. So one Sunday afternoon, she said, well, we're going to be leaving next week. So I think we better eat it maybe for dinner tonight. And I said, Julia, it's not a dinner thing. It's more of a breakfast brunch thing. And I said, okay, we've got to eat it up. We got to make it. So let's order, like from room service, a big fruit tray, something to counteract, all the starch and everything. So we're in her kitchen in her villa cooking up a storm. And all of a sudden the door knocks, and it's Matt Damon. And he said, boy, something smells good all the way down the hall. And so I told him what we were doing. And before you knew it, George Clooney, Matt Damon, uh, Brad Pitt, uh, all the guys were there sitting in Julia's dining room in her villa, and we're serving them sausage, biscuits, and gravy. So that kind of got the word out through the years. So I used to make it for Brad Pitt and bring it to work so he would have it some days for his breakfast before we start shooting. And it just went on through Kristen Stewart and everyone. So the recipe is in my book, Continuity by Bonnie Clevering. And so it's just gotten around, and it's pretty simple to make, but pretty delicious too.
For sure, it's delicious, Miss Bonnie. So beyond just being a breakfast staple, what does a truly great plate of biscuits, sauces, and gravy represent to you? Is it a comfort, heritage, or something else entirely?
No, it's just something because I lived in Texas, and it was for a while, and that was quite a big thing, in the South. And so I knew a basic recipe, but then I kind of turned it around myself with different types of biscuits. too. Sometimes I make it with a biscuit that's softer, sometimes one that's a little crunchier, and some that are a little cheese flavored. So I kind of, you see, whoever I'm serving. So if I have like an open house brunch here at my home, then I make a day or two in advance, a huge pot of it. And then I put it in a crock pot.
So, do you firmly believe using loose or coarsely ground sausage for texture? So, do you prefer a finely ground sausage that fully integrates into gravy, or what is your seasoning for that sausage and gravy?
Well, what I do, I use a spicy sausage and equal regular sausage. So it's got a little tang to it, but it's not hot. And I don't chop the sausage up real fine because then it's just like mushy in the gravy. So I try to leave when I'm browning the sausage to leave it in little chunks so you can bite into a piece of sausage.
Biscuits and gravy have deep roots in the American South. How does your recipe honor the tradition, and where does it dare to elevate?
Well, I mean, like I said, it's bigger in the South, but yet, when I'd film in Georgia years ago, then it was always on a menu in Georgia, and of course in Texas, and now it's almost any place. I live in the Midwest now, and almost any breakfast menu has sausage and gravy on their menu.
Hmm. So, where does your gravy fall onto the spectrum from a thick, almost spoon standing gravy, or more fluid, creamy sauce that soaks the biscuit? What is that your preferred consistency?
It's a creamier. It's a creamier gravy.
Mm.
And then I sometimes put, because some people, especially men, like things that are a little hotter. So I might put dried pepper flakes on the side. So if someone wants to add those on top of it, but I used to, some of my actors had wedding receptions in their homes or wherever, and so I end up making the sausage biscuits and gravy the day after the wedding as like the brunch. So if it was more of a casual wedding and not at a fancy hotel, and we were just eating, around the house or the farm or the ranch or wherever we were, and so that was my wedding gift to the wedding party and guests. And it ended up where the last wedding was so big, I made a couple hundred biscuits, and I think it was about 20 pounds of sausage. And that I had to make the day before, because the other times, I would just get up early and make it that morning for brunch. So that was the biggest I'd ever done, that many pounds.
Mm, yes, indeed. And Miss, are you baking powder purist, or do you swear by combination of baking powder and baking soda for the ideal rise and tang?
That I don't do hardly at all. I have done
Hmm.
it, but I prefer just using like a Bisquick, because a Bisquick, you can get that crunchiness to it instead of that soft, like a refrigerator biscuit is it's a good biscuit, but it's very soft. I like the crunchiness. And then even I've introduced recently where Red Lobster has a box of their biscuit that you make, and that's really really good. It adds a little different flavor than just a regular biscuit.
What is your fat of choice for the biscuits? Butter for flavor, shortening for flakiness, or combination of both?
Sometimes a combination is
Hmm.
good. Yeah. I mean, years and years ago, my mother and grandmother, everyone used lard for any kind. I mean, even pie crust in that was lard, but I've never made biscuits out of that.
Mm. Do you advocate, or yes, do you advocate for folding or laminating through to create a defined layers, or is it simple drop basket method? You go from ease to a cranky rustic top.
I like to go by just dropping it, so then the top gets a little crunchy
Mm,
rather than
yes.
a soft where you pat it down with the bottom of a glass or something.
Yeah, so Miss Bonnie, let's talk about on the gravy. Oh, I love doing gravy. The gravy starts with a roux. What's your ideal fat to flour ratio? How dark do you let your roux get before adding the liquid?
Now, like um, I like it light in color, and I add it just gradually.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm making the homemade biscuits, but so often I make it for so many people, I just do the shortcut of box, and add the milk or water or eggs or whatever
Mm-hmm.
to it
Mm-hmm.
because I do so many.
Yes, definitely. So, what's your liquid choice for the gravy? Whole milk for richness, buttermilk blend for tang, or even a bit of heavy cream of ultimate indulgence.
Milk. I use milk and like a 2% milk.
Mm-hmm. So, what will be the outcome for 2% milk, Miss Bonnie?
It's very milky tasting, and sometimes, I mean, a homogenized milk would even make it more so. But the regular milk, you get a nice whiter color. It's not a grayish color.
Okay. So beyond salt and heavy dose of black pepper, what are your essential seasonings? A pinch of cayenne, a dash of sage, some thyme, or something completely unexpected.
The only thing that I've ever done beside to have an actual flavor is I love dill. So even the spice dill, if you don't have the fresh to chop real fine, then sometimes I've put in dill in the
Mm,
gravy right at the
mm,
end.
nice. It's something
Mhm.
good. Deal with the gravy. It's yummy.
Yes,
Yes, definitely. What type of sausage makes for breaks the gravy for you? Is a classic country style breakfast sausage something with a little heat, or some specific blend of pork and spices you create yourself?
I like the sausage you get in the log, the round log, and I like the regular. I do equal parts regular pork sausage and also the spicy. So I do half and half. That it's not too, because there's some people just don't like spice, and so I can't go overboard, and I don't want to make two different batches and so forth. But it's just enough so that if someone wants it spicier, they add the pepper flakes to it.
Yes, definitely. Paper flake is something else. What is the most common mistake people make when preparing biscuits and gravy that you wish you could correct for everyone?
I think one of the things, you have to keep it stirred so it doesn't stick to the bottom. But if you cook too much, then the sausage just kind of becomes part of the, it becomes real creamy. Where I like the chunks. So just don't
Hmm.
keep tossing it and tossing it and tossing it. Uh, but you have to do a certain amount because you add the flour and the milk to thicken it. But just practice a little bit so that you just don't stir so much that it becomes, you can hardly see the sausage, or you want to be able to chunk into it when you bite into it.
Yes,
And my
definitely.
book has, I had many different things that I cooked with actors in my book. Uh, Different actors with pies and tacos, and because I love to cook, and practically all my actresses love to cook and are good cooks. So
Hmm.
my book doesn't have the actual recipes, but it talks about other, you know, actors that enjoyed cooking: Kristen Stewart, Hilary Swank.
So, Miss Bonnie, if someone's gravy turns out too thin, what's your preferred method to thicken it?
Uh, just put a little more milk and flour in a little bowl or glass or jar and shake it up, and then just add that to thicken it a little more.
Thicken a little more. So, how do you coordinate getting your hot, flaky biscuits and your creamy, piping hot gravy to the table at the exact same moment?
Yeah, the biscuits, if you want, you can always, like, I do things in advance. So I'll do the gravy and the sausage might be much earlier, not just when my company comes. And but I don't cook it to death. I then, because I know I'm going to have to rewarm it. Or if I do it a day before, then I'll store it in a crock pot. So then it's just warming instead of me turning it. Because the more you turn it, the mushier it'll get, and it breaks up the sausage chunks. And the biscuits, uh, is would take them out of the oven, just take a tea towel and cover them to keep them warm. And if you do 'em if you have to do a lot the day before, uh, just store them in some kind of plastic container or plastic bag, Ziploc bags, because the the gravy has to be hot, but the biscuits don't have to be hot. Because when you pour that hot gravy and I mean, you don't know that you're on a hot biscuit or not.
Hmm. And what is your one secret weapon or unexpected ingredient that elevates your biscuits and gravy from a great to unforgettable?
The what? Repeat that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so what's your one secret weapon or unexpected ingredient that elevates your biscuits and gravy from a great to unforgettable?
I think just the process of making so that there are those chunks of the sausage in there. I think that's uh, because so often when you get it at a restaurant, it's, I don't want to say mushy, but the sausage is, you can see it, but you don't. You want to be able to take a piece and actually chew on the piece of sausage.
Yes, definitely. For someone who wants to get creative, what successful gourmet twist you've tried or would recommend, Miss Bonnie?
Well, I think the way you serve it too. Like if you're doing a brunch and you happen to have a beautiful chafing dish, I mean, like me and a lot of my friends that are older still have the silver chafing dish that you keep lit underneath, and to do a buffet and to serve it in something like that, or if you have to do it in a crock pot, but serving, and then the biscuits served on a glass or silver tray, and then serving it on some type of ceramic dish, plate. Also, I think adds a nice flair to it. So it's not a paper plate and plastic silverware.
Yes, definitely. And Miss Bonnie, what is the ultimate beverage to serve alongside the hearty plate of biscuits and gravy?
Well, it depends on the time of the day, but usually orange juice or mimosas. If you're doing a brunch, then you do mimosas and Bloody Marys. And if not, if you're not doing any alcohol, then you do orange juice, grapefruit juice, uh, fruit. A fruit bowl is really good to have a nice fresh bowl of fruit, pineapple, melons, that type of thing, because that kind of takes away from the starch and it adds a pretty color to the plate.
A fruit bowl for sure. And what is the best way to store and reheat leftovers while preserving the texture of both biscuit and gravy and sausage as much as possible?
I would say if even if you have a small crock pot, is to rewarm it. Whatever you can do, or even put it in a little casserole thing and put it in the oven. Just something that you don't have to keep stirring it the second or third day to mush up the sausage. So if you did it in a crock pot or if you did it in the oven, you wouldn't have to keep stirring it. Because in a pan, you'd have to watch that it doesn't stick to the pan. And the biscuits is wrap them in aluminum foil and warm them in the oven.
That's the trade secret, people. Thank you, Miss Bonnie, for sharing the trade secret to us. And before we wrap up our discussion for
Mhm.
today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book one review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in third season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101, love letters, movie 101 review, and music 101 fourth season, science 101 and sex 101 in its second season. And my baby podcast, Law 101. Mental Health 101 and Bible Verses 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Bonnie, in your opinion, what constitutes the perfect bite? Is it the place of biscuit with a specific amount of gravy or vice versa?
Well, it's got to be pretty equal where you do see the biscuit. So you don't
Mm-hmm.
cover that biscuit totally, so you're just looking at the gravy. So you want to be able to see the rim of the biscuit, and that's important.
That's truly, truly important. And Miss Bonnie Clavering, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom about food. So, can you please invite the listeners to support your book, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Oh yes, they can go on Amazon or they can go on the web. Continuity by Bonnie Clevering.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Bonnie Clavering, because if you support her for sure, more and more empowering books like this to come, more and more empowering advocacy to come. So, Miss Bonnie, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel.
More to come, people. See you soon.